Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here. I'm really excited for this video. It's time for my full hands-on with the brand new Huawei Mate 20 Pro. And this device has a lot of really cool features. The Mate 20 Pro has an in-display fingerprint scanner, so it can actually read your fingerprint by just pressing it on the screen. It's really cool. We will test that out. And also, another crazy feature is that it has reverse wireless charging. Yes, it does have normal wireless charging, but it also can charge other devices wirelessly. It's really crazy, really cool that Huawei decided to include this feature. So with all that being said, there's a lot more to talk about with the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. Let's go ahead and get into the full hands-on. Let's get started. So to begin, let's take a look at design, and you will see a lot of display on the front with a little bit of a notch up towards the top. It does have curved sides. Now flipping it over on the back, this is the twilight color. As you can tell, very reflective. It is a glass back for that wireless charging. Now taking a close look at the phone, down at the bottom, USB Type-C, SIM card slot, microphones. Also noteworthy, the USB Type-C slot acts as the speaker. On the right side, you do have a different colored power button along with volume rockers. Up towards the top, a microphone and an IR blaster, which I'm actually pretty happy they kept and still include. And then of course you will see on the left side absolutely nothing, but notice that curve to the display just spills that content off the phone. This is a 6.4-inch 1440p OLED HDR display, 19.5:9 screen aspect ratio. Up at the top there's that notch, and a close look at the back. You will see it says Like up at the top because Huawei did partner with them for this camera, and you will notice it is a square with 3 lenses and an LED flash, a wide-angle 40 megapixel lens, an ultra-wide angle 20 megapixel lens, and a telephoto 8 megapixel lens. So a lot to choose from, makes it for a very versatile camera. Really excited to try this out. A lot more to come on this camera. Stay tuned and be sure to subscribe. Now there are multiple color options. This is the emerald green, but I wanted to make note of the hyper optical pattern which comes on the green and blue models, which is just a bit of a texture to it with your fingernail. If you actually scratch it, it will make a little higher pitch noise. However, when you're holding it in your hand, you really can't feel those ridges that you can see when the light hits the phone in the right way. So a really cool look and a nice pattern. Next, let's go ahead and dive into that camera because that is such a big deal having those 3 separate lenses. These are actually the perfect combo of lenses that I would like in a phone. Just snapping some quick pictures, going through the camera app. It does have portrait mode, night mode. It has been fantastic on previous models. The P20 Pro's night mode, insane. You do have to hold it still for a little bit, but it takes a long exposure shot, and generally they turn out amazing. Jumping into settings, you do have Master AI, which you can turn on and off, which will change the scene and the look of the photo based on what you're looking at, and 4D predictive focus, which will actually determine if you need to focus on something, maybe something moving, maybe a dog. If you want to take pictures of your dog running around, it will predict what you want to focus on. The Mate 20 Pro does run Android 9.0, which is the latest, and EMUI 9 skin. Here's a couple looks at some other specs. Kirin 980 processor, 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. Also worth noting, it has a 4,200 milliamp hour battery, IP68 rating, and it can charge up to 70% of battery within 30 minutes, which is crazy. You can choose how you want the system navigation to be, whether a navigation dock, those 3 buttons, or gestures. So you'll see if you swipe from the side, you have back, swipe up, and you go home. And then if you swipe up and pause, you will get to your recent apps. And then of course, if you swipe from the bottom left or bottom right-hand corners, you get to the Google Assistant, which is great and nice and covers all the bases with system navigation. So let's go ahead and test it out. If I want to jump into settings, pause, you will see I get to that recent apps vertical list. If I wanted to go back, I'll swipe from the side and it goes back a screen. Seems to be working very well as it should. If I swipe up and go back into the settings, pause. Also noticing if I am on home and I swipe up and pause, it will take me into that recent apps. And then of course, testing it out, swiping from the bottom left-hand corner, you do have the Google Assistant popping up. Also worth noting that you can actually swipe from the right side of the screen as well to go back. You don't have to do it from the left side, especially if you're holding your phone with your right hand. It's nice that you don't have to go reach all the way across the screen like you do on iPhones. You can just go ahead and swipe from the right side of the display to go back. And yes, there is a notch, but it is very useful because it does have 3D depth sensing, face unlock with a dot projector, TOF proximity, flood illuminator, IR camera, 24 megapixel camera. So it's secure and quick, but you can also hide that notch with software within settings. You keep those icons up at the top, or you can choose to have the notch, but that notch is very useful with the face unlock. And speaking of unlocking your phone, let's check out that in-display fingerprint scanner, which is incredible to me. The setup process took longer than I had expected. I guess I'm used to the physical fingerprint scanners taking really quick, but now that there's this new technology where you can have in-display fingerprint sensors, it's crazy. Now, I did find I had to actually press fairly firm on the display. That's because it is actually, it's called DPS, Dynamic Pressure Sensing in-screen fingerprint scanner. But you will see it's telling me to do different parts of my finger. I'm just pressing on the display. And a lot of times I actually found that I thought I was done, and then it just kept asking for more parts of my fingerprints, my fingerprint, which I'm actually okay with. I don't mind the length of time that it takes as long as it's quick and accurate when I'm using it. So there we go, successfully enrolled. Let's officially test it out. So with the screen off, let's go ahead and test it out. Pressing down with a little pressure, and you do unlock the phone. With the display on, you'll see a little icon, some ripples, unlocks, and I noticed that if I lightly put my thumb down, it will not unlock. I have to put some pressure down, and it will actually unlock that phone. And I do find that I need to figure out the right spot. It will take time to learn that right spot, but once you do, it's quick and fast. There's also a dark mode, so if I go into battery settings, you will see darken interface colors, which will help with that OLED display. It looks really nice. Help with battery life, obviously just help with your eye strain as well with taking out some of that white coloring. And also going into settings, back into battery, wireless reverse charging, which is crazy to me. So let's test it out. With it enabled on my Mate 20 Pro, let's set down, let's say, a phone that has wireless charging, such as the Pixel 3 XL. And right away, it starts to wirelessly charge the phone. Crazy. Let's set that to the side. Grab my iPhone XS Max. Boom. Wirelessly charging these phones, which is insane to be able to share your battery life with other devices, especially now that wireless charging is becoming more of a standard. And here's just another close look at that Mate 20 Pro and the curved glass that it has. Very aesthetically pleasing phone. I really do like that off-color power button too. Some further impressions I had about the Mate 20 Pro is that it's actually lighter than I would have expected, especially it having a 4,200 milliamp hour battery, which I am actually excited to test out. That should be very good battery life. But also considering it's a 6.4-inch display, yes, a little bit taller with that 19.5 to 9 aspect ratio, but it is a little bit lighter. The arrangement of the lenses is also growing on me. I wasn't the biggest fan at first, but after seeing it in person, I definitely like it a little bit more than I did in pictures. I also noticed that I have learned the gestures very quickly. It was not that difficult to actually get used to them with the swipe up to go home or swipe from the side to go back. They seem to work as they should. They didn't seem to activate when I didn't want them to, which is great because then, of course, you can take advantage of that gorgeous OLED display and really show off full screen apps without having a nav bar down at the bottom. And that's just about everything I wanted to cover for the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. For now, a lot more coverage coming, so be sure to click that subscribe button. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to click that thumbs up button. Follow me on various social media. I like to post pictures and impressions about these devices. All links to my social media accounts in the description. And of course, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.